Do a little login. Hope you all are well, wherever you are. And that the start of your weekend is going great. Doing a quick stream check. Gonna share a couple links. And then we'll get into our UFC Fight Night picks and predictions. Awesome. All right, so we are live. Gonna share the link. And then we'll get into things. I feel like I should have some sort of, let me grab that link, some sort of like prep music, you know? Stream. And 2 UFC picks. I feel like I'm a fairly slow mover sometimes. I'm getting things going, probably because I'm streaming fairly early on most mornings. Do that, and then I'll throw this in here, and we'll get cooking. Boom. All right. So, welcome. Happy weekend wherever you are, and happy almost end of April. Enjoying a nice green tea, and you can see that allergies are affecting me pretty nicely, huh? It's nice. It's a good look. Something good to be streaming with, huh? Yeah. So, it doesn't hurt. Just looks like I'm tougher than I really am. You know, I got into like some kind of bar fight or something. But no, just allergies. So good morning. Welcome to this edition of Spredict Live. I am Fred Endy. I am one of the 3 founders of Spredict, along with my good buddies Max and Johan. Max is our CEO, Johan is our CTO, and I am the guy in front of the camera, right? I'm kind of like our relational, personal contact type of guy. And so the 3 of us together have built Spredict, which is a predictive gaming ecosystem designed to give users a chance to think differently about what the predictive landscape can look like. And we do that with Spredict in a number of different ways. First, the architecture of our ecosystem is built around a subscription system. So rather than placing predictions in the traditional way, where you might make a selection for a game or match or player prop or whatever it might be, and then pay for that selection. With Spredict, you pay a monthly fee, right, for access to all of a given sports features and games, and paying that monthly fee allows you to compete for time-bound prizes, right? And so think of it a little bit like the Spotify or Netflix of predictive gaming, right? That's what we aspire to be. And so what that subscription structure allows us to do is form partnerships with lounges and other projects in different ways than we might be able to do if we were event-based, right? So that's one structure. The other piece is that we are designed to create new ways of thinking about predictive gaming. So you're going to see in our UFC Fight Night pools that we have some traditional elements like, you know, picking the winner of a given fight, and then also some other elements that are built in too. For instance, the favorite feature. How does that work? Well, in a Spredict Pass competitive structure, those added features will provide you with additional points on the leaderboard, right, as you compete against others. So the favorite feature, as an example, works by giving those who make contrarian picks and are correct a boost in points on the leaderboard. So you'll see a star in those events where a clear favorite has emerged. if you then pick along with the chalk, if you pick the favorite, right, then you might receive 1 point on the leaderboard, but assuming the favorite wins. But if you make a contrarian pick, right, and pick the other selection or other two selections if we're in a three-pick pool, then you get an additional point, right, which would boost you in the leaderboard. We ran a really great Euro tournament for about 350 people this past summer that worked exactly like that, and we did some play testing for the favorite feature, and it was awesome. So it's a great feature to add some additional fun and complications to the way that Spredict works. And then the third piece is we're really designed to allow for communities and groups to build their engagement. So a key function that we've designed is the ability to replicate our base pool structure and design custom pools for projects, for lounges that want to engage in predictive gaming with each other, right? So it's a great way to build those additional connections, strengthen engagement, and keep people coming back for more, right? And so we're incredibly excited to offer that and to provide that opportunity to our users, right? And so right now we have our UFC pools live. They are set up to be played. Everything in the moment is free to play. We will always have a free to play element for those who want to engage and who enjoy the predictive side of things and don't want to compete for larger prizes, right? So we're going to take a look at the free-to-play side of our DApp. I'm going to pull it up shortly. I'll show you how to connect, and then I'll share my predictions. And of course, if you are watching now, watching later, have other thoughts, want to get your picks in, you'll be able to do so. Prelims start at 6 p.m. Tonight, so 10 p.m. UTC, right? And our pools remain open until 1 hour before the main fight card begins. So my recommendation would be over the course of the next roughly 6 to 8 hours, get your picks in, make your selections, get a feel for the DApp and how it works, and most importantly, see if you're correct. I'm going for a 4 for 4, of course, as I always do. My record's been pretty strong. I've had 2 4 for 4s, a whole bunch of 3 for 3s, 3 for 4s rather, and then maybe 1 for 4, which was, I'm gonna blame the fighters on that one because clearly, right, my pick should have landed better than that. So let's take a look. Let's talk a little bit about Fight Night tonight. Let's talk about some of what I'm seeing as I've done some of my research. And then again, like I said, please, by all means, share your thinking, who you like, who you don't like, who you'd like to see or wish had been involved. And yeah, let's get going. So what I am going to do is share my screen. Let me do that. Okay, and we're going to pull up, if I can do that, let's see, oh, it's not, hold on, it doesn't recognize the tab, so let's try now. All right, we just removed it. Let's see if it'll let me share that tab directly. Select the window, here we go, fantastic. Okay, so you should now be looking at our DApp. This is the base structure of our DApp. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to disconnect my wallet first so I can show you the wallet connect. But I'm also going to give you a bit of a layout of how the DApp is designed and what it will end up looking like as we continue to grow and build. So eventually, you'll be able to claim SPI tokens, other rewards through our DApp itself. And that'll be up in the work in progress section. You'll be able to access and take a look at that. What you'll notice for now is that the MMA side of our portal is live with the current game we're looking at, Face Off, which is basically a fighter versus fighter game structure, along with the favorite feature employed. We are in the midst of working on a second game called Finish Style, which will connect to how a given fighter wins a fight. Right? So stay tuned for that. And our goal generally is to build anywhere from 2 to 3 games into each category of access we provide via our DApp for a couple reasons. One is we want to provide multiple ways for people to engage in sports and non-sports events. But at the same time, we also want to make sure that there's enough variety and variability in a given category where people can compete effectively, right? Below that, you'll see our Formula One tab. We've run a really comprehensive last year Formula One season as an initial test for our model. Our Formula One game, Clash of Champions, is also a little bit different. It doesn't ask you to pick which racer will win a given Grand Prix. Instead, it asks you to look at the 2 racers on a given team and head to head, which of those 2 do you think will beat the partner? So again, different styles, different modes, different ways of thinking about predictive gaming is at the base of what we do. And then you'll also see we're building out a crypto portal, right, where the idea is that players will be able to predict market cap, price, based on current market conditions. Part of what we decided we wanted to do early on in Spredict's lifespan was create not only sports-based gaming opportunities, but non-sports-based gaming as well. And so we have our crypto portal being worked on. And then for those who want to compete for larger rewards, you'll be able to purchase a Spredict pass. We've built the architecture for that, which you see down at the bottom of the screen. Right, or yeah, right. And then we also have a rewards tab, which is up a little further, and that's where you'll also be able to claim some elements of prizes, etc. You'll be able to go through and look at various results and rounds. You'll see we have a past results tab we're working on, as well as a leaderboard for those competing in our Spredict Pass games. So I'm going to scroll down just for you to get a feel of things. Right now we have past rounds and pools locked above. Those will eventually be put in the past results as they're built. So right now I'm going down to tonight's fight night. What you'll see in the design of our DApp are 4 pools. We've made the determination that a 4-pool structure works very well. It's not so large that it takes people a significantly long time to work through them. And it's also large enough where people can really decide how they want to engage. Kind of like everything is on screen, you know? I mean, even when I'm looking at the stream on mobile, I can see all of those pools effectively, right? And we wanted to make it easy for people to use. We wanted to make access really, really smooth. And we wanted to give people enough to think about and compete around without making it onerous, right? And in this way, there's enough variety. Leaderboard points can be established effectively with a 4-pool base, and it doesn't take people too much time to go through. So we're going to take a look and go through this process, right, and really get a sense of who the fighters are and the fights that they are engaged in, right? So let me connect my wallet. So one of the things you'll see when we connect our wallets is an opportunity to connect to Abstract, which is what I'm going to do, right? You'll have an Abstract wallet. You'll connect, right? We are on the abstract testnet currently. Eventually, when our token goes live, we'll be moving over, we plan to at least have our token on mainnet, possibly the DApp on testnet, depending. But at this point in time, you can connect via Abstract Global Wallet. So I'm going to approve that connection. Right, and here I am. You can see that I'm connected up top, and now I'll be able to make my picks. Right, so let's talk a little bit about our fights for this week, right? Who we're liking, who we see, who we think stands a chance to end up winning. And first, like most fight nights, the fights tonight tend to be kind of like leading opportunities for fighters to get a bigger spot in the straight up UFC events, right? And tonight's fight takes place in Kansas City, Missouri at the T-Mobile Center. The biggest of the fights is, of course, Ian Machado Gary, who's taking on Carlos Pretz. Gary's, and you might have seen this video. So Gary had done a short stream, I don't know on what social media platform it was, where he was showing in his bedroom the things that were on like his bedroom mantle, right? So he's got a picture of his kid, I think it was his wife, right, or his family, and then an image from like a really shitty loss to Rachmanov back in December, right? And his only loss in his growing career at this point, right? So, he showed that to say these are the things he's thinking about like all the time, right? And that, his failed submission attempt, which kind of like popped the balloon of his growing starting career, right? And no way am I saying that this is in any way going to have a large impact on him, but it's something that he's thinking about, right? And of course, it comes into the play for that main event fight, right? So Ian Machado Gary, 15-1-0, right? He's from Ireland against Carlos Pretz from Brazil, 21-6. Both of these fighters are pretty young, right? So Gary's 27 years old, Pretz is 31. Pretz has a slightly longer reach, about 3.5-4 inches longer, right? Which of course is an advantage. But both fighters really show similar characteristics, and their skills in significant strike accuracy, takedown averages are really pretty close. These are two really evenly matched fighters. Aside from that tough loss to Rachmanov, which I'm sure Gary will talk a little bit more about, he's won every fight he's engaged in since he began competitive MMA in 2019, right? And that's impressive because even the best fighters struggle to string 14 fights, regardless of whether they're in UFC or any other type of league or program. What I like about Gary is he is fairly versatile. He is as able and capable with the KO as he is in going the distance, right, and finishing a fight to completion. His last 3 wins were by decision, right, and certainly this is a main event that helps put a check mark in one of these two fighters' kind of growing career pathways, right? And of course, it isn't a main event for no reason. Pretz, as a fighter, has made a name for himself as well. I often talk during these streams about like the fighters who I wouldn't want to face off against. Pretz is up there for me. He hasn't lost a fight since Gary began fighting, right? So that's important to note too. Since 2021, every single fight for Pretz has resulted in a KO win. I've never seen anybody hit the way he does. Now, that's not to say I've never seen anybody hit as hard or as powerfully, but it's almost like it's almost like he's got like some magic voodoo deal with the devil type situation, because it's really hard to explain a string of 10 KOs. Very difficult, right? And for the five in within UFC, which is even tougher to explain. Vegas does like Gary, but only by a slight margin. Right? He's at 130. This has the potential to be a fun underdog play, because Precht is a Chad. He really is. But I have to believe Gary has really learned a lesson since his failed submission attempt back in December. I can't see him letting Preitz get an early KO. I mean, I've been wrong before, but it seems like Gary's strategic enough to recognize that that's become a pathway for Preitz. I see a real strategic fight on Gary's part to help showcase that, yes, he is a fighter of the future. And I see the potential, given the quality of both fighters, that this could be a fight that goes the distance with a split decision in Gary's favor. I don't see this being an easy fight for either of the fighters. So I'm going to lock in my pick. I'm going to go with my friend Machado Gary. And there he is. Right now, one of the things you'll notice in the DAP is the star that you'll see with the favorites, in this case, right, are present, right, in the sense that those stars would come into play with the favorite feature in monthly or league style play. So if, for instance, Machado Gary wins and I pick the favorite based on blockchain data, then then I'll end up getting, let's say, 1 point. But let's say someone picked Preitz, let's say Preitz wins, as the underdog, right? He would, the person picking him would end up getting an additional point, right? So you can see how that can play into the strategy and game theory, particularly on close matchups. One thing I'll say is that the favorite feature does switch. So if, let's say, community selection for Preitz switches and he becomes the favorite, then those who pick Machado, if Machado Gary wins, then then they end up with the extra points from that favorite feature, right? So it's a really cool design. It makes a lot of sense as a way to flip around some of the selections that we take a look at. So let's go on. I next have a featherweight selection, right? So it's Giga Chikadze from Georgia versus David Onama from Uganda, right? And so I have, that's who I've got next, right? So let's slide down to the featherweight. Okay, and let's take a moment to talk about this fight and these two guys before going on to our other selections, right? So Chikadze is from Georgia. He's 15-4-0, which is his record. David Onama 13-2-0. These two fighters physically are fairly similar. Chikadze is 6 years older, which in MMA can be like 2 decades older, depending. I mean, you know, I'm 45, right? So our bodies change drastically as we age up. And while it's only a 6-year difference between a 30 and a 36-year-old, it can sometimes feel like significantly more just because of the pressure on our bodies in normal conditions, and in like MMA conditions, forget it, right? The two do split some fighting strengths. Chikadze is much more accurate as a striker. Onama, a stronger takedown fighter. What can we say? Chikadze entered UFC in 2019, has only lost 2 fights since entering. Won to Calvin Kattar by submission last July. The last fight that Chikadze entered, he lost to Arnold Allen. That was a loss by decision. He's won 8 fights by decision or KO. And he's a example of a fighter who employs a variety of different tools to hit. He's not only a fist-based fighter, right? So he can kick, he can punch, he can elbow, and it does appear, right now I don't know Chikadze personally, but it does appear like he strategically thinks about what makes the most sense as he thinks about hit accuracy and potential damage, right, he's going to cause. Onama is favored at 170. He's won his last 3 fights. And also is not, neither of these fighters is a submitter by trade, right? They both tend to lean towards KO, going in for the KO and wins, or just outlasting their opponent, right? Onama fought twice last year. Chikadze fought once. Both fighters have the potential to win this fight. Chikadze is coming off a disappointing loss. I do think he has the potential to win. He is a slight underdog in this battle. However, I do like Chikadze's ability to effectively fight with more than just his fists. Onama does seem to tire more easily as fights go on, right? And I don't feel confident that this will be a KO in either fighter's direction. And so for me, I think Chikadze takes this potentially in a unanimous decision, but I think it does go to decision here. So I'm going to go back, lock in my pick for our friend Chikadze. And there we go. Okay, next up on my list, I have the middleweights fight, right? The middleweights battle. And we've got Michael Pereira from Brazil, who's 31-12-0, right? I mean, think about that. 43 fights on this guy's career so far. Fighting another Magomedov, right? This is Avis, right, of Germany, 27-6-1. As you can tell, both fighters have had fairly lengthy careers, right? Anytime a fighter is logging close to 35, 40 fights, they've certainly garnered significant experience, right? You think about just talking about Chikadze and Onama a short bit ago, right? Those two fighters who have significant fights, right, been in for 5, 6, 7 years as fighters, have only logged half of what Pereira and Magomedov have logged. So they are significantly similar in takedown percentage, accuracy, and even stance, right? And I think that a key physical difference here is Magomedov has roughly 5 inches longer reach, which is significant in any fight. Both are similar in age, height. Pereira is basically the UFC's greatest showman. If you have watched this guy before, I know that so many fighters love to put personality into their fighting, and that's huge, right? That should be the case. You have to be a bit of a show-off in any type of fighting sport in particular, because part of it is also getting in the head of your opponent. And if you can effectively do that, you enter any fight with a significant advantage, right? But Pereira is like, he's like a show-off, right? And if there's any opportunity for this guy to do a backflip during a fight, he's going to do it. And what's interesting is he'll even do it even if it puts himself at risk, right? Even if it leaves himself open to a strategic hit, takedown opportunity from his opponent, which I think is one of the dangers of Pereira. He's a hard hitter, of course, He's also a strong kicker and a taunter. Like I said, he's a showman. He's really trying to get into the head, clearly, of his opponents. He's been fighting since 2007 when he was 15, right? The dude entered MMA at 15. That's fucking crazy. I'm sorry. It's nuts. So this is what he knows, right? I mean, he is a fighter through and through. Since entering the UFC in 2019, right? So he was in other leagues, other programs before. He's lost 3 of his 12 fights, which is a really strong record. The last fight being a late fight knockout to Anthony Hernandez, right? In a fight night main event. He is favored slightly again at 140. His opponent, Magomedov, has lost 2 of his last 5 fights. And he's won his 2 fights in 2024. So coming off a solid 2024, he can win under any circumstance, this guy. Knockout, submission, decision, all in his wheelhouse. He's done it all. He has been in the UFC for a shorter period. He's only logged 5 fights in UFC, and so this would be a huge win for him against a more seasoned UFC professional. Magomedov fights with intensity. Could have easily lost to Ferreira in October, but stuck that fight out and eventually got a tap-out submission. Really interesting fight to watch because you get the sense that Magomedov really is a thinker's fighter, right? Vegas likes this fight to be an interesting one. I would agree. I might say it could be the best fight of the entire main card. You've got a showman and a more patient fighter. I'm going to go with the showman in this case. I'm going to go with Pineda in this case because this is UFC. It's built around showmanship. Fighters who are stronger showmans or showwomen would only bolster their career opportunities with UFC. I'm going to take Pineda for the win with at least one backflip built into the fight. So if anyone wants to take a backflip prop with me, I am in. And then so lastly, and I just realized this. Lastly, I think we coded a different fight than what's here. I'm prepared to pick Randy Brown versus Nicholas Dalby. I'll share that real quick, and then I'll make a pick with what's up there. We'll do a quick look at the 2 fighters and go from there. But initially, the thinking was Brown, 19-6 from Jamaica, going against Dalby, 23-5-1 from Denmark. Brown is significantly supported from a physical advantage standpoint in this fight. He's taller, he's younger by 6 years, right? So another big difference, 3.5 inches greater of reach. I also think he's a more effective takedown user. Vegas likes him significantly more as well, right around 300. Brown can fight. He's got some solid submission moves. I don't see him, and no shade, Randy, but I don't see him necessarily as a UFC superstar. I don't see that potential for him. I think that he has not proven that he can carry wins. He puts a win or 2 under his belt, and then he gets knocked out, and then another 2 or 3 wins, and then a submission. It's hard to see him as a long-term winner, which of course you have to be a good fighter, which Brown is, and you also have to be able to capture the crowd and the audience. And I'm not as sure that Brown can do that. Dalby, the Danish Dynamite, is his nickname, which I think is awesome, is tough. He lost to Renat Fakhretdinov by split decision last June, and hadn't lost a fight since 2022, so 4 straight wins. He is definitely a little less streaky than Brown, but like Brown, doesn't really capture the imagination of people. He doesn't really do anything different. I think these 2 fighters are kind of like, okay, right? UFC fighters. And when they're really similar in a lot of ways like this, I always give the upper hand to the fighter who has the physical advantages, not because it's a guarantee, but I think if there aren't a lot of intangibles, then you can't discount height, age, reach advantages for a fighter. So it may be a split decision, but I think that Brown ends up eking out a win there. Right, and let's take a look at this other fight, which we'll do some live kind of analysis and thinking through. So I'm going to pull up. Curious about the odds for what we got. Let me pull it up here, and then I'll make my pick and I'll lock it in. And I'd encourage all of you to do the same. So here we go. It's Anthony Smith, Zhang Mingyang. So let's talk about these two fighters, a little bit about their records. So both of these two in the light heavyweight division are fairly similar in height. Reach is almost the same. A key difference between these two is that our colleague Anthony Smith, our fighter Anthony Smith from USA, is 10 years older than Zhang Mingyang. And that makes a significant difference. You can see it in their records. Smith, 38, 21-0. This guy's like the equivalent of a UFC journeyman, right? He's fought almost, it's crazy, by the way, almost 60 fights in his career. Zhang Mingyang, significantly less, right? 24 total fights. Think about that. But significantly younger, too, right? And if we pull up their records and take a little bit of a look at what these fights have looked like, Smith, who really does log a significant number of fights each year, has been fighting since 2008, right? So 2008, think about that. His 3 fights in 2024 was a win against Petrino, a loss to Dolice, and then a loss to Dominic Reyes, right? And, Reyes, Dolice, I know a little bit about. Petrino, I don't know so much about. My worry is I'm not sure that at this point, the Lionheart, right, Anthony Smith, has the ability to win out against more competitive opponents, right? So he's lost 3 of his last 4 fights. Before that, if we round that up, let's look at the last 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so it's 5-5. But, this might be a fighter whose time is coming to the end, and who maybe was kind of like a decent fighter, but never really seemed to grow to the level of intensity and effectiveness that you might hope for if you were going to be fighting 60 fights, right? So let's look at Zhang Mingyang, who is favored significantly. I think something like, let me just go back to the odds. I want to say something like 400, 450, right? So clearly Vegas sees him as the sizable winner. So the interesting thing about Mingyang is that while he has won his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 fights, 9 of them via KO, right? And all in the first round. He's only been in UFC for 2 fights, right? And then it's been additional programs. I just want to say though, holy shit, this guy, I'm going back, I'm just looking at his career so far. Since 2019, all of his wins have been in the first round. And his one loss since 2019 was also a loss in the first round. Submission with a rear naked choke. But, holy shit, right? This guy has not, one, lost a fight, and two, not gone past round one. So that leaves a really interesting consideration for these two for this fight. You've got what appears like a younger, more intense fighter in Ming Yang, right, versus a significantly more seasoned, more capable maybe of taking hits and going the distance fighter in Smith, but also someone whose time maybe coming to a close. Well, Ming Yang is really just getting started, right, and revving up. And so here's my thinking here. 10 years of age difference is huge. It's big. Now, Smith can go the distance. He can hang around. He's able to really stick it through fights. But I always love thinking about fighters who can get a significant number of breakout fights, right? Who can string together a really amazing start to a UFC career. I think that can happen here with Ming Yang. If he's able to score a significant win over journeyman Anthony Smith, then I think even more people might be talking about him as a fighter to really watch. I don't think there's as much wonderings for Smith. I think the vast majority of people would suggest that he is coming to the close of his career and is probably ready for a shift away. So that's what we've got, right? Here's my lineup. I've got Machado Gary, Ming Yang, Chikadze, and Pereira as my picks. I'm looking to go 4 for 4 here. I also shared, though it's not up here, that I'm going with my friend and yours, of course, the showman. Oh, not the showman, I'm sorry. My friend and yours, Randy Brown, to eke out a win against Nicholas Dalby. So I'll add that. Maybe I'll go 5 for 5. We'll see, I hope. But I'm going to lock in my picks. Let's do that. Validate your prediction. You'll see I get a little validation box to pop up. Approve. Oh, let's see. I had a reversion. I wonder why. That's a good question. Failed to validate transaction. So I don't know. I'm not sure what happened there. Let me just see if it still connects me. I'm gonna, oh, my wallet looks like it's disconnected, or is it? No, I'm connected. Interesting. I don't know. So let me put these up here so at least you can see. I'm gonna check out why I can't log in. I wonder if maybe I have to add some more ETH to the wallet. That could be too. But here's what we're looking at for my selections, right? Machado Gary, Zhang Minyang, our friend Chikadze, and my buddy Pereira, and Randy Brown, right? So here's what we've got for this week. Thank you all for joining, listening in, whether you were listening live or going to listen at a later time. Appreciate all of you and the support you provide to Spredict, and we'll see you on the next Spredict Live.